The sleepy Florida town of Summer Hill seemed unassuming and quaint. That is, until the evening of April 17, 2011, when a group of friends decided to take revenge on the jilted lover of one of their own. While this might seem plausible for a group of adults, what is most shocking is that all the players involved were still teenagers. How could they come together and enact a plan so evil, calculated, and diabolical is beyond comprehension for mere teenagers? This is the story of Seath Jackson. Seath Jackson was a normal high school kid who was still finding his way in life. Part of finding that way was figuring out love and relationships for the first time. Seath found that first love during his sophomore year of high school, when he met 14-year-old Amber Wright. After talking for a few months, the two decided to date in the winter of 2010. However, after just a few months of dating, the couple split up in March 2011. Instead of an amicable breakup, the pair duked it out over social media. Their public dissatisfaction drew the ire of many of their friends and family to one side or the other. As for Amber, she heavily drew upon her new boyfriend, Mike Bargo, and her half-brother Kyle Hooper for support. Setting the scene for this horrible crime was the house they all lived in with their friend Charlie Eli. Also staying there was a mutual friend of Mike and Kyle's named Justin Soto, aka Roach. After weeks of back and forth between Seath, Amber, and her friends and family, the conflict came to a bloody conclusion that night. In the aftermath of that event, Amber's brother Kyle was immediately filled with regret and went to tell the police about what happened. After his initial interview, the cops suspected he was telling the truth and quickly rounded up all the players for an interview, except Mike Bargo, who was still on the run. Among the first people to be interviewed is Amber herself. However, detectives have already talked to her friend Charlie and know more than she realizes.
Rhonda, okay? And I'm gonna talk to you about this, okay? Okay, I just need you to tell me the story, and let's start with the other night. I understand that you and Charlie went to another neighborhood or went down the street. Tell me how this all comes about.
Well, me and him were already talking on the phone.
Me and him?
Seath.
Okay, you and Seath. Did Seath call you or did you call Seath?
Well, he had called me a couple days before that and I didn't answer.
Okay.
So I called him that night.
And you and Seath, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? You two had a relationship. Was he, how was your relationship with him?
Not the best.
Tell me why you say not the best.
We'd always fight. He'd always hit me and cheat on me and all that.
So he was physically abusive to you?
Yes, Jim.
What Amber is alluding to is very important to the story. Allegedly, she had been telling all her friends and family that Seath had been abusive towards her, physically, mentally, and sexually. However, there is no evidence to back any of her claims up. Instead, these allegations of abuse only fueled the fire that was spreading after the pair broke up. Because of these allegations, Kyle and Mike became very angry with Seath, who would not leave Amber alone. As the interviews continued, both Amber and Charlie stick to the story that they had nothing to do with Seath coming over to the house that night.
So you guys went down there and talked?
We were talking for maybe not even 30 minutes.
Okay.
And his mom, I guess, texted him and I was like, who are you texting? I thought we were talking. And he was like, my mom told me either right now or never. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess they started arguing, whatever, and then he looked at me, he's like...
Arguing with his mom through text?
Okay. And I guess he called her a bitch or whatever, I didn't want to get in it. And then he was like, look, I'm not in the mood to talk right now, I'm getting out of here for now. I'll see you around.
However, Kyle did not storm off. In fact, he would later show up at the house that night, as Amber would later admit to getting him to come over.
And Mike was talking to Charlie and Kyle and me. And he was like, you should call Seath. And I was like, for what? He was like, act like you're gonna make up with him. And I was like, for what, Mike? He's like, because I'm gonna kill him. And I was like, why are you doing that? He's like, because I'm tired of him.
Amber's admission is the first time she finally starts admitting the truth about her involvement in the murder. In fact, unknown to her, her brother Kyle has already started talking and had essentially admitted to most elements of the plot. In a rare moment of what they thought was privacy between the pair, Kyle makes a shocking admission to his mother.
Both your kids are in a thing for murder.
Number 2?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What we told you was in the storm. I mean, it was like everything was planned.
Approach everybody?
Everybody.
After this startling admission from Kyle, investigators can now start linking all the players together in what capacity they served in the homicide. Up until now, everyone had been trying to deny or minimize their involvement in the crime. Now, with their star witness connecting all the dots, the detectives decide to push him further to get the full truth before talking with the remaining suspects some more. According to Kyle, the decision to kill Seath was made that night by Mike Bargo under the influence of drugs. For unknown reasons, he wanted to enlist the help of his friends as well.
Yes, he was doing some pills or whatever. He's getting all wired up, hyped up and everything. And somebody brought up the name Seath, and he's like, man, I want to go in and kill him midnight. He's like, I just want to. And he's like, you guys down? And I told him no. I told him I don't.
When he said you guys down, who's he talking to?
Like,
you and him?
Me, Amber, Charlie, Roach. Okay.
Who's Roach now?
The guy Justin.
After linking all the teenagers into the plot, the detectives now have the ammo they need to start putting more pressure on their suspects. The first one to be interviewed after this bombshell admission is Justin Soto. Up until this point, he denied even having close ties to the people in the house and said he had just moved in. But with this newfound evidence, detectives try a different approach. A detective finally breaks him down when she tricks him into thinking that everyone is going to try and pin the blame on him.
Question is Roach gonna look out for Roach? Or is Roach gonna not look out for him and let him take the fall for everybody else?
Well, since you put it that way, this is what happens.
In the other interview room, detectives are grilling Kyle to ensure that the plot was in fact a conspiracy, instead of a spontaneous event like Charlie and Amber have claimed. Detectives want to ensure that Kyle implicates each of his co-conspirators by name, since this will be crucial for the eventual trial.
I wanted him dead, but I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want nothing to be a part of it. I didn't want nothing.
And Mike said he would do it.
But Mike said he would do it.
So you talked to Mike
he kept on saying, man, I'll take the blame for it. I'll take the blame for everything. I'll do it. I'll do everything. I'll take the blame. If the cops ask you if anything, I'll take the blame. I have nothing to lose. Everybody was agreeing to it.
So did Soto agree?
Huh?
Soto? Roach?
Everybody agreed.
He
Like
agreed?
I said, everybody agreed.
Amber agreed?
Mm-hmm. And
Charlie agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Mike said he would do it and you agreed. So there's 5 people.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
With the motive and conspiracy now firmly established, detectives begin to question the participants about what actually happened once Seath arrived at the house. Here is what Amber and Charlie claim to have happened after piecing both of their stories together.
She let him in, he sits in the chair. Me and her sitting by each other on the couch, and out of nowhere, Kyle just gets up and hits him.
So were they arguing first before you hit him? You just...
No, Amber and Seth were talking, and Kyle comes out of nowhere and hits him, and me and Amber dart to my room.
And where was
And
he at?
Kyle said, get the fuck out. And he went out that way, and we hear Mike's door hit something. She let him in, he sits in the chair. Me and her sitting by each other on the couch, and out of nowhere, Kyle just gets up and hits him.
So were they arguing first before you hit him? You just...
No, Amber and Seth were talking, and Kyle comes out of nowhere and hits him, and me and Amber dart to my room.
And where was
And
he at?
Kyle said, get the fuck out. And he went out that way, and we heard Mike's door hit something, and Mike came out, and we heard gunshots.
Okay.
And by then, me and Charlie took off to her room. We shut the bathroom door, and we heard another door just fly open, and we just heard gunshot after gunshot after gunshot. And after maybe like 5 or 6 times of hearing it, it got quiet. And then you hear Kyle go, what did you just do?
Even though the two girls did not witness the incident itself, but heard it through a bathroom door, both Kyle and Justin Soto actively participated in the murders. This is their version of what happened to Seath Jackson.
And Mike's like, man, I can't do this. It's got to be done now. He's like, wait, Mickey, he's sitting in the love seat. He's like, it's gotta be done now. Mike opened the door. I come out, I hit him over the stick with the head.
Where was Seth when you hit him?
He was in the chair.
Okay.
And I hit him over the head with the stick, and it broke 3 times on him. Then he was still trying to go out the front door, and Mike just kept on shooting him. I kept on telling Mike, I was like, stop it, let him go. And he just kept on shooting him. And he goes out the house.
Soto then describes the actual moment Seath is shot in the head.
I just got out of the way and Mike pumped his ass.
Kyle then picks up the story about how they attacked Seath on the front lawn of the house.
And Roach grabs him like this and Seath on the ground and has him choked. And I don't know what he did to his knee, but he kind of messed up his knee and Roach rolled over.
Who messed up his knee?
Roach,
Okay.
Soto. And he rolled over and Mike come up and shot him in the head, and that's when it was over.
Despite the detailed and damning admission from Kyle, detectives still want to get just inside of the story for how Mike killed Seath to corroborate Kyle's testimony.
Mike shoots him. How many times?
Like 5 times maybe, I guess.
Right there on the spot?
After killing Seath in cold blood in the front yard, the 3 teenagers then have to dispose of Seath's body. However, it is more difficult than what they might have imagined.
And come back into and then I was like, Mike's like, man, grab him, you gotta grab him, Kyle. We can't have nobody, we gotta grab him. And I was scared, I was freaking out, and I'm like, okay. And I grabbed him and I pulled him up the stairs and
Grabbed who?
Seth. I started pulling him up the stairs.
Was Seth still alive?
Partially, yeah.
Okay, so he was still breathing at that time.
He was partially still alive. And they put him in the bath, and then
Who put him in the bathtub?
Roach come in, and he put him in the bathtub.
Once the trio had placed Seath into the bathtub, Kyle goes into great detail describing the horrendous actions of what Mike Bargo did next.
Then when he was in the bathtub, Mike kept on getting all psycho and pissed. He kept on punching him and shooting him, and I had to grab him like this to pull him back, and I told him to stop. I said, listen, you need to stop right now. And then I come in, and then Mike's wanting to break it. I come in, and Mike's trying to break his kneecaps to put
Is
him
he
in a
dead
hog
at this
tie.
point, or is he
Yeah,
still?
he's completely dead.
After brutalizing Seath's body, Mike then told Kyle how he wanted to get rid of the body.
Then he hog-tied him, and then he put him in the bag.
In what bag?
Like I said, that sleeping bag.
In the other interview room, detectives are busy corroborating the story that Kyle is telling them. After admitting to helping stuff Seath's body in the bathtub, Justin says that he left the room. When he returned, Mike had ordered him and Kyle to place Seath's body into the sleeping bag. During this late stage in the interview, the detective circles back to something she noticed when he first got into the room. A tattoo on his leg was covered in fresh cuts. When questioned, Justin at first said that he had gotten it walking around the woods sometime. However, when questioned about it now, he finally told the truth. He now admits that he got his legs covered in scratches when he was searching the woods that night for firewood to create a bonfire that would destroy Seath's body.
You and Mike stayed out there and watched the body burn in the fire,
I
right?
stayed out there.
You stayed out there by yourself?
Yeah, most of the time.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your being honest about that, okay? So I guess it was your job to make sure the body burned?
I just wanted it all to be over.
Throughout the night, Seath's body burned on the makeshift funeral pyre that the trio had created in the backyard. But once the sun came up that following morning, it was time to dispose of the body. Kyle recounts just how sick and twisted Mike Bargo really was, even after the influence of the drugs he had taken the night before had passed.
We're just going around there. Mike's in the bag picking teeth from his skull and playing with his tongue. He's all sick and everything. He's putting them into them containers with paint and everything, the ashes and everything.
Who's helping him do that?
He was at that point. He was just doing everything by himself at that point because everybody just said, "Okay, we're done."
After putting all of Seath's remains into the paint buckets, Mike, Seath, and Amber's stepfather then drove the remains to a desolate rock quarry in nearby Ocala. Mike had apparently gone swimming on numerous times there and knew it was a desolate and isolated place perfect to dispose of a body. Once the trio had dumped Kyle's remains there, they went home only to be interviewed by police the next day about what they had done. At the conclusion of all their interviews, the detectives placed Charlie, Kyle, and Amber in the same room, where their new reality starts to sink in. Hearing from the detectives that they are all going to be charged with first-degree murder does not sit well with them, and they still try to deflect blame even in this moment.
He's admitted his part. He will be booked also.
We're all in for murder. What? What? Did you say, why did you lie? This is our life now.
Oh my God, man.
We didn't do anything with the body or anything like that. I get 5 years, I'm 20 by the time I get out.
Unfortunately for them, they would not be getting out for a much longer time. Shortly after their interviews, Mike Bargo was arrested and all 5 were charged with first-degree murder. Justin took a plea deal and was sentenced to life in prison after taking the death penalty off the table. Kyle, Amber, and Charlie all went to trial and were found guilty of murder. Mike Bargo also took his chances at trial and was likewise convicted. However, he now faced the ultimate punishment of the death penalty for his heinous crimes. Years of court battles would play out, with Justin and Charlie eventually winning retrials. However, of the 5, only Charlie has been released as of the making of this video, after she was allowed to plead guilty to second-degree murder and released in 2020.